Boris Johnson remains tonight on political death row, awaiting the results of the Sue Gray Partygate inquiry. And while the Ramones, the Keir Starmer for Prime Minister Brigade and Tory troublemakers are baying for blood, I take a much more nuanced position. Now is not the time for Boris to go. He must lead the UK out of the pandemic and I think be given a chance to really to rediscover his lustre in peacetime, you might say. As you know, I backed Boris to become Prime Minister as I believed he was the only man who could deliver Brexit. That proved to be true. But he has had a disastrous pandemic where he gave in to the media, scientific and political establishment, doing huge damage to the country in the process. And sadly, he's also given in far too often to his wife, Carrie, who has pushed Boris to reinvent the Tories into a big state, high-tax party, slavishly supporting the net zero agenda and rolling back personal liberties. For that, I have been furious. You know I have. And I've cheered on the brave Tory rebels, the likes of Mark Harper and Steve Baker and the even braver cabinet defector Lord Frost, who have helped Boris to rediscover his backbone these past 2 months. That's before I even get to the boozy number 10 parties while we were all locked in our homes at threat of arrest, which frankly beg a belief, and prove once and for all that inhumane and draconian lockdown policies should always have been guidance and not law. But Boris has a chance to save himself. There is no successor ready, waiting in the wings. None of the main contenders are anywhere near ready for a bruising leadership contest, let alone with a prepared agenda to run the country. And up until recent polls, Boris has proven to be an electoral asset. But if he has any chance of surviving as PM, and I have to be honest, that is looking more difficult by the day, Boris must make some bold calls. The first and the most urgent priority is to scrap the national insurance increase due for April, that so-called health and social care levy. It's unthinkable to me, completely unthinkable, that in the midst of an unprecedented cost of living crisis, he is proposing a manifesto-busting tax hike when record funds are already being pumped into the NHS. The PM's discomfort on the issue was obvious today as he was pressed on the matter in this interview.
You guarantee that national insurance will go up in April this year as planned?
What we've got to do is look at all the ways we can address cost of living.
That doesn't sound like a guarantee.
All we can do to address the cost of living issues for people. So it's the cost of fuel. It's making sure, and just on that specific issue.
But on the tax rise, can you guarantee that national insurance will go up?
This is what I'm saying. What I'm telling you is we've got to put that money in.
Those
machines are not cheap. Those machines are not cheap. 44,000 more staff in our NHS.
But will the money come through a national insurance rise?
Now than there were last year. Those investments are not cheap. What I'm telling people is that if you want to fund our fantastic NHS, we have to pay for it. And this government is determined to do so.
It's no surprise Boris is feeling the pressure. The Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, is trying to wash his hands of the unpopular £12 billion tax grab that will cost a worker on a £30,000 salary £255 a year. Leading economic think tank, the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, says reversing the hike is absolutely possible and makes a lot of sense. Former Tory Cabinet Minister Robert Jenrick wrote in the Daily Telegraph that postponing the rise would show that the government's conservative instincts remain intact. And the Daily Mail, campaigning for the 1.25% hike to go, quoted an anonymous minister today saying the whole cabinet would support such a move. But that must just be the start if Boris is to survive. He must also axe VAT and green levies on energy bills. They need to go. If Boris were to make such a dramatic statement on a key policy plank like low tax in the week of the Sue Gray report, then I believe many wavering Tories might agree the PM deserves one more go. Just do it, Boris. Just do it.